Так вот он встречается с вертолетами, требует бросить якорь.
They will pursue these opportunities to push the limits because the next time it might be real. This time it's for show. The danger you have is that when you put ships and aircraft in close proximity, accidents can happen. And so the big danger is not that it might be deliberate incident, but an accident might happen that results in the loss of life of aviators or mariners, and then one side will take it further in after that. That's the actual risk, is that when you put these high risk, high value, and highly political assets in close proximity, and you have an accident, that has consequences.
С разгоном.
I think they're making a point. It's more about the politics of this, the optics of this, that they recognize this is a embargoed vessel. They can't really board it. It's outside territorial waters. It'll stay outside territorial waters and that sort of thing. They're making a political and a optical point. Does it make a difference? No, it doesn't. It's simply the politics of the Game of Thrones.
Of course, today we also announced our biggest ever sanctions package against the Russian shadow fleet. Really important work, again, discussed with our allies.
It's pretty much impossible, to be honest. Ships, they're owned by one entity, which might be a Russian entity. They're crewed by a different entity, which might be a Maltese entity. They're flagged by a different entity, which might be Bahamas or some black flag type registration system. And they can just move around. I mean, the ownership doesn't. But the crewing, the charter parties, the flagging could just change in hours. So to actually get in and pull this system apart is legally, at the moment, difficult. You will have to go to UN and change what's called UNCLOS, United Nations Convention of Law at Sea, and the various different UN conventions that arise out of that about registration and the rights and responsibilities of coastal states to protect their waters. That is a multi-annual task. It won't be done in weeks. It'll be done in probably decades if you want to change that international system. What a shadow fleet is, effectively, if you're trying to transport goods that you're embargoed from transporting, say, if it's a Russian flagged vessel, it can't do it. But if you flag it then in whatever you want, it could be a red ensign, it could be a British flag, and then sail that ship around the world as a white flag. It's called there's a white, grey, and black fleet. It can go anywhere and do anything it wants because it's a white flag. It's a very complex system that facilitates international trade. And to undermine that system that is facilitating everything that arrives near your table every day is coming through this modernized global conventions of how ships are flagged and how ships are run and how coastal states have very little rights, very, very few rights to intervene in shipping. A ship is entitled to a freedom of navigation, a freedom of safe passage. And so a coastal state can't just do what it wants. So for a coastal state to intervene with the freedom of navigation, the freedom of safe passage of a vessel is legally really complex, and you could actually upset the whole shipping industry if you start trying to pull apart one area of it simply to solve one problem. How do you intervene? How do you protect, say, undersea cables? You can't. How do you protect undersea pipelines? You can't. It's too big a space, a global space. If you want to protect, say, the cables coming out of the UK and Ireland and France heading across to America, there's about 1,000 or 2,000 kilometers of cable.
So you think when they attempted to land on the vessel with helicopters, I believe, you think they weren't even actually going to attempt that? That was more for show?
I think so, because it'll be illegal. You have to, as I said, it flies the flag of Gabon. If Gabon did not give permission to board that vessel, well, then you're breaking international law. So they kind of knew this. The only reason you can board an international vessel is if you think it's involved in piracy, if you think it's not flying a flag so you can't identify its nationality, if you think it's involved in the smuggling of people. Just so there's very, 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 very limited reasons you can board a vessel of a different state. And there's good reason for that. Very good reason for that. They are the property, the soil of that state. So you don't want to pass by Nigeria, say, for example, and Nigerian authorities just deciding to board your vessel and arrest your vessel with a red ensign UK flag. You don't want that possibility anywhere in the world. So the systems are there for a reason. The way you stop this is you make the trade unprofitable. So you don't interdict the sea, you create the landing and the shipping of the product untenable or unprofitable. So the only real way of making this impossible is you, in some way, load up the costs on the shipper if they're shipping Russian goods. So it becomes unprofitable to do so. And it's profit. It's follow the money. That's how you defeat this. You follow the money and you make it into a loss.